Hello, fellow Toastmasters. I'm so excited to speak to y'all tonight about my speech. But before I begin, I want to ask you guys a question. How many of y'all have been to a drag show before by raise of hands? Okay, so a good bit of y'all. I'll never forget the first time that I went to a drag show. I was a freshman at Georgia State University, which is a huge campus in downtown Atlanta. Now, me and my roommates had saw the posters on campus and we're like, okay, we'll go to this. None of us have ever been to a drag show before because back in Georgia, I assume it's the same here, you have to be at least 21 years old to get in. So we're like, we're 18. This is so cool. So when we got to the event, there was tons of people. It was packed. There must have been at least 1,000 students. When the show finally started, it was phenomenal. The queens were awesome from their different talents of singing to dancing to comedy. It was just the coolest thing I have ever seen. Now, when I started my sophomore year of college, I actually transferred schools and I went to Armstrong Atlantic State University in Savannah, Georgia. When I was at this school, my best friend, Jacob, he kept trying and trying to drag me to our club's Gay Straight Alliance. I was like, I don't really want to go, but eventually I decided to go. Now, I was used to going to the GSA at Georgia State, which Atlanta is pretty much the gay capital of the South. There's so many queer people. And so the GSA there was huge. So when I went to Armstrong's, disappointment was an understatement. There was probably about maybe 10 to 15 students that would come on the regular basis to the meetings. The club had no cool events. They didn't have a drag show. They didn't have any type of parties or just stuff that other clubs on campus would have. I continued to go though. He kept bugging me, so I kept going. Well, towards the end of that year, elections were coming up. And Jacob was like, it would be perfect if I ran for president, or if he ran for president, and then I ran for secretary. He's like, we could finally bring a drag show to school. It'll be cool. So we did just that. However, Jacob didn't end up winning the presidency, but I was the secretary for the club. So that year when I was secretary, I was having a meeting with the other executive officers. And so I pitched the idea. I was like, why don't we have a drag show on campus? The other executives were very quick to tell me no. They had informed me that a few years prior that the GSA on campus tried to host a drag show. However, the administration at the time was like, that's not going to happen. It was pretty much you guys have your club, stay over there. We were really treated differently than the other organizations on campus, and that was something that I was like, no, we need to stand up for ourselves. So I went to the director of Office of Multicultural Affairs, Nasha, and I told her my idea. I said, we need to have a drag show on campus. She thought it was great, but she also knew that the administration, it wouldn't fly through it. So we came up with the idea to label our event as the International Fashion Show as a way that we could host the event on campus and reserve the slot. So we did just that. Nasha was able to reserve this spot, and then she said, all right, you wanted this, this is all you. I had never planned an event before, let alone a drag show, when I had only went to one other one before that. And let me just tell you, trying to get a bunch of drag kings and queens together is like herding cats. It's so difficult. They're all going in different directions, and it's completely unorganized. Now, the week before the event, I had my club paper the campus. We were like, this is a drag show. Everywhere you looked, you saw that Armstrong was having a drag show. Because at that point, it was kind of, we're going to ask for forgiveness and not for permission. On the day of the event, I was going to be excited if we had 50 people show up. Because I was like, it's already a smaller campus. Our events don't have that great of a turnout anyways. If I get 50 people, that's awesome. 30 minutes before the show start, I had some of my organization members come up to me, Emily, we need more chairs. We need more chairs. I'd already put out 100, and they're like, we need more. So I had to chase down the facilities people and have them bring out more. We ended up having over 250 people show up to that event. And that was the largest event that we had on campus that year. So as you can see, that it was a huge success and that everyone was so supportive of it. So the following year when I was president of GSA, I was like, this is great. This is something that we need to have, but we also need to go further. Queer culture is so vast, and it's not just drag kings and queens. We need to show these students that it's something more. So we were able to apply for an institutional grant, and we were the first student-led organization to actually receive the grant. So we got $5,000 and we're able to plan our first LGBTQ Pride Week. So we had tons of different events from LGBTQ and the police, HIV events, and of course the drag show. So when I was a graduate assistant, I was like, all right, we did the drag show, we did the drag week. Now I want us to have a month-long of events because our campus is extremely receptive for it. So with that, I told Nasha, and she was like, that's great, you go forth and do it. So I did, and I'm so excited to say that I've graduated 2 years ago, and LGBTQ Pride Month is still something that goes on at my campus currently. In public health, they teach us that you are your biggest advocate. And in this instance, when I went to my college, I saw that the queer community was not being equally representative. And so I stood up and spoke out against it.